All right, looks like the audio is good now. Okay, the audio is up and running. So, all right, remember we're going to do some some supplement. Sometimes the best time to do it not at the end of the day; it's the beginning of the day, right? Where you start that. So, anyway, so let's take a look at these phrases here. So this is kind of the big part, I should say, that you're going to use throughout the course is this language. We started to talk about it the last few days. We're going to continue with some language. Okay, anybody order at least one Big Mac at McDonald's yesterday? Right? You guys know what I mean? At least one. So if I say to you guys, what are you looking at right here? What is this called, by the way? You guys remember that dreaded word algebra? So in algebra, do you guys remember, or in mathematics, what is this? This picture right in here. Anybody know what that's a picture of? The real number line. Thank you. The real number line. Now, in the middle of the real number line, that's right in the middle, right? You have the number 0. What's so special about 0, ladies and gentlemen? 0 is what? It's neutral. So what do we mean by being neutral? Right? 0 is neutral. Yeah, it's not positive nor negative. So all the numbers to the right here, when I point this arrow going forever, this is where all the positive numbers live, okay? You guys know that there? All the positive numbers live to the right. And what about to the left? We try to find a color. What do you know about those numbers? Yeah, those are negative numbers. They go all the way to the left. So what you're looking at is a picture here of the real number line. And sometimes I put that scripted R here for you guys, okay? Your real number line here. All righty. Okay, we got the real number line. So when they start talking about here, they're going to use the words here, right? They're saying, describe the following phrases with an inequality and graph its meaning. All right, so inequalities have meaning and they're related to language. So when they say X, well, let's go back a little quick here. What's an inequality anyway? You guys remember what the inequality symbols are? When they talk about an inequality anyway, what are they really talking about? What does that mean? Yeah, it's the inequality signs are like the greater than symbol, the what? Less than symbol, greater than or equal to symbol, less than or equal to symbol. So those are all what we call inequalities. Okay? So those are all inequalities. Now, when they say here X, you go, what do you mean X? Well, we don't know what X is. It's an arbitrary number. Okay, X is at least 1. So there is a symbol, an inequality symbol that really is about the phrase at least. Okay, at least. All right, you guys okay with that? So we got to think about that. And again, read it left to right. It says X is at least what number? It's at least 1. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say to you guys, I'm going to locate where 1 would be. 1 is positive, so it's to the right of 0, okay? So I'm going to put it right here. I'm just going to kind of reference that because it's a positive number. I'm going to get rid of all of these. But when they say you're describing X, which is numbers that are at least 1, you got to think about the meaning. What does at least mean? At least is short for at the very least, right? So when they say X is at least 1, they're really saying the following here. It's like, why don't you want to write, iPad? x. What do you guys think in relation to 1? How do we describe that? How do you describe at least? Good. You guys know this. Greater than or equal to. So this is what they want you to do. Describe that inequality x is greater than or equal to 1. Now, what do they mean by graphing the meaning? What do you think they mean by graphing the meaning? We got to describe all numbers that are greater than or equal to 1. Now, let me give you guys a fact here so you guys are aware here, okay? Where do larger numbers live in relation to one another? Okay, so this is kind of an important fact. And maybe I'll go back here to our notes. Oops. That's not what I want to do. Okay. No, let's go over here. Here's your real number line. We're going to do some S this morning. This is a number A, and this is a number B. Okay. Right, here's some facts with real numbers. I want you guys always remember. Where do larger numbers live? If a number is larger, what I always say is this. Larger numbers live where? Live to the what? To the right. Okay. And then what that also means by default, smaller numbers live where? To the left. Okay. So, I want to write this down symbolically as well. Here's A and B. So larger numbers live to the right. So JAWS opens to the what? To the A, because it's larger. Okay, you guys okay with that? What about this over here? A and B now. What do you guys know about this? Smaller numbers. Okay, so these are some important details about the real number line. So the further to the right you go on the real number line, the bigger the number. Right? You're getting larger. The further to the left you go, you're getting smaller. Yes? A is greater than B. Oh, well. Yeah. Let me do this here. I apologize. I wrote it down. So here, Rich goes this way like that, okay? There you guys, thank you so much. Okay, so the point I want to make to you guys is larger numbers live to the right and smaller live where? To the left. Now you say, well, what does it have to do with this particular picture, right? So when you're saying, and you guys know this x is greater than or equal to 1, what numbers are greater than 1? Numbers that are what? To the right of 1. You guys understand what I'm saying? So numbers that are bigger than 1 are all to the right of 1. So I shade everything this way, like this. Now, how do we communicate to include 1? Because this is greater than or equal. So how do we make that? How do we actually communicate that information? Well, good. In high school, they bubble it. You're right. You know what I mean? They go this. Here you go. There's a nice little bubble. But in college, we put a what? A square bracket. And that bracket kind of opens to the direction of the arrow there. Okay? So, but you're correct. In high school, the notation is the bubble. And then here we put the square bracket. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what they want you to do in terms of language. And this is kind of what you want to think about as you proceed with the course, because we're going to see these phrases over and over again, and it's going to have a lot more meaning for us. And like I said, first week, you want to understand that this comes from beginning algebra, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is beginning algebra information. X is at least 1. This is the part of what we call set builder notation. And then this is the corresponding graph of that set builder notation here. So we don't have to draw intervals because there's an interval notation too. No, this is just using the language and shading the appropriate what? Meaning of the inequality here. And you guys want to know something interesting? Look at how it's written. Isn't the arrow pointing to the right? So if you read the X on the left as you read, because we read left to right, right? We read that way. Okay, we read left to right. X is greater than or equal to 1. So these are all the values, by the way, of X. You know, it looks like this is an X value, whatever that is. This is another X value. This is another X value, okay? So this is describing numbers that are greater than or equal to what? To 1. Just to let you guys know. That's what they mean. Now, if I said to you guys number 2 now, right? Let's look at number 2 here. If it says X is no more than 1, do you guys remember now? Compare that to yesterday when we said, what does no more than 1 actually mean? Right? I have X, I have 1, but what does no more than 1 mean? It's 1 or less. Okay, is that right? So it includes 1, but it's also less, no more than 1. It's like that's the limit. 1 or less. That sounds a lot like what? Less than or what? Equal. Is that right? 1 or less? Less than or equal? So how do we describe this in terms of a graph? Because this is the inequality that we have in this example. But how do we describe this now really in terms of a graph? Do you guys know? How do you do that? Well, first of all, 1 is similarly to the right is 0. It's positive. Okay. But how do we describe this in terms of the arrow? It's going now where? To the left. You guys okay with that? Now, do you include 1? Then you use what? Not the bubble, but the what? The square bracket. There it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at how we describe in terms of an inequality, you know, X is less than or equal to 1. This is all that stuff people hated in algebra, right? There you go. And take a look. You might say, really? I never realized there was language there. Yeah. It's language. So in my mind, really, this is how I see it all. It's like, wow, okay. How about the next one, number 3, right? What does number 3 say here, right? Number 3, X is what now? What is this? X is less than what, too? So where would 2 be? Well, it's going to be to the right of 1. But this is just a sketch, ladies and gentlemen. We're just sketching. So you don't really have to put it like really further away just because it's a sketch. I'll do that because you say, oh, if you're saying this is 1, this must be 2. Yeah, I know, but I can put it really just to the right of 0 because it's a sketch. Now, less than, what does that mean? How do I describe numbers that are smaller than 2? Smaller numbers live where? To the left, is that right? Remember that fact? Smaller numbers live to the left, larger numbers live to the right. So when I shade this, isn't it shaded this way? Okay, you guys okay with that? Smaller numbers live where? To the left, larger numbers live to the right. Now, if it's less than, there's no equality. That's the one thing you want to remember. When you say smaller than, you don't include the number. Smaller than does not include the number. So, because it doesn't include the number, how do we communicate that? I know in high school that's an open circle. But in college, what is it? It's a parentheses, and it opens always to the shaded region. So you put a parentheses. This communicates do not include 2, and that's an important detail. right? Being under 18 does not mean you are 18. Does that make sense? Under 18 does not mean you are 18. That means you're less than 18. All right, what do you guys think? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy? All right, what about the next phrase? X is what? Is more than 1. More than. What's another way of describing more than? Isn't that just greater than? So if I said here's X greater than 1, that's the same phrase, really. Greater than is the same as more than. Does that include 1 if it has to be more than? No. You're saying I want more than that number, right? I want more than 1 cookie before dinner. I want more than 1 bag of Flaming Hots before dinner, right? More than 1. That's greater than. So, all right, you say, well, where's 1? 1 is where? Well, again, as long as it's to the right of 0, because 1's positive. Okay. What is more? Numbers that live where? To the right, because the larger numbers live where? To the right. Smaller live to the left. You do not include 1, so what do you guys use? Parentheses. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. What do you guys think? Yeah. What do you guys think? Is that okay? Easy peasy lemon squeezy? All right, what about this? What about the next phrase? What does the next phrase say here? It says what? X is, what does that mean? Between, okay, what is X between? 1 and 4. So let me read that again, okay? X is going to be what? Take a look at this one here. That word between, whenever you think of the word between, right? In my mind, I think of, what do they mean by that? 1 and 4. X is going to be between these two numbers. So X is between two numbers. So the number is 1. The number is 4. Did I draw a picture of X between two numbers? What do you guys think? Is an X between two numbers? What do you think about that? I'm looking at an X that's between 1 and 4, right? So you might say, well, what are they really saying? Well, that's exactly what they're saying, that X is between these two numbers. So 1 we know is maybe over here, okay? 4 is larger, so it's over here. You with me on that? X somehow is over here, right? So X is between them. So you're going to shade, ladies and gentlemen, all of these numbers between 1 and 4. That's what that means. X is between 1 and 4. But what are the inequality symbols that we have to use? You guys know? Do you guys remember? Anybody know? What is that? We're going to use, this is like default. This is kind of like by definition without going through, the weeds on these issues. So this is describing X as between 1 and what, 4. So would I sometimes say that it's inclusive of 1 and it is inclusive of 4? So it's inclusive, meaning you include those numbers. So this is the inequality representation that you guys see. And then you say, well, how do I graph this? You're almost done. But if you're including 1 and 4, what do you guys have to have? Brackets. Good. The square brackets, they call it, because there's really 2 types of brackets. Anyway, 1 and 4. All right. What do you guys think? And that's really like most of the language that you really have to be concerned with when I say language and process. There's other language like is. What is is? Equal. Is the same as. Okay. What is not the same? Not equal. And in fact, remember we talked about this. Let's see if I can go through my. What do I got to do? Oh, okay. I think it is in Canvas too. So let's go to Canvas. Where are we? Where's the browser? Come on, browser. All right. And I haven't figured out how to get rid of that thing. You see this thing? What's it called? Statistic summary sheet. Well, it's in Canvas, and it'll load eventually. It all depends on our bandwidth. It's also on my webpage, Math 227, Statistic Summary Sheet. Same thing. Let's see if it loaded. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's Canvas, whatever. Well, there's some formulas. We'll eventually see these things. Okay, whatever. What do you guys see? Remember I said to you guys that you get to use this summary sheet on your test? What do you guys even see? What is this? Key phrases, right? Isn't that the between A and B? What's this? At least A, X is at, that's short for X is at least A, X is greater than or equal to A. Oh, what's this? More than A, that means X is more than A, this is X is greater than A. How about this? Less than B? No more than B? Less than or equal to? Okay. A is B. Oh, that's A equals B. A is not B. A is not equal to B, you know? So the things that I'm starting to say, the most important part that people have a difficulty with, the language, you even have here as a summary sheet. But, you know, I want people to go through it. I want people to do homework on this because you don't want to be... how do I put this? How do you guys ever learn to become successful at anything? Do you guys know? You got to do this stuff over and over again, right? Anybody ever play organized sports before in their life? Where are the people you play organized sports? I'll tell my little sports stories. You guys already know. I didn't know how to study. I never studied in high school. Shh, don't tell my daughters. Never studied in high school. I lie to them. I say I study every day in high school. I don't. I never did. You know, you guys know parents lie. Oh, I shouldn't tell you the secrets. Shouldn't throw your parents under the bus. Didn't study in high school. You're like, well, how'd you learn how to study? Because when I went to college, I got to grow up. I got to now take this stuff serious? Really? So, oh man, like, how am I going to do that when I never even did it before? I had to learn. I was like, how am I going to study? So I learned how to study. I think about this. And you know what? I played organized sports. I got good at organized sports. I was very good. I was good at baseball. Very good. But you know why I was good at baseball? I did it every day. Practice every day at baseball. You know, when the coach tells you to go home and do something and you say, okay. Well, some people say okay. Because there are some kids that never did that. Do you guys know if you played organized sports, you can spot them like that? Didn't that ever piss you off and you knew that they didn't go home and practice and you had to play and you played a game and then, you guys know what I mean? Maybe you lost because some of those other kids weren't practicing? No? You guys don't know what that means? Oh, that used to piss me off. I have a cousin. He started yelling at his own teammates. He was yelling at his own teammates. It's kind of interesting. But that's how I learned how to think about it. I go, oh, man, I better do this every day. Okay, let me try that. I even watched an interview. Back then, there was a basketball player by the name of Magic Johnson. Now, Magic Johnson was amazing. He was an amazing free throw player. And they once asked Magic Johnson, how did you get so good at doing free throws? You know what he said? says, every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is I practice 100 free throws every morning. That's before he brushes his teeth even. He would do 100 free throws as he got up every morning. And it blew my mind because I said, oh man, I thought magic was just blessed with natural ability and he could just do it because he was great at it and he was born blessed, right? Lucky. He had all this ability, and poor me, I couldn't even make a free throw. Well, he practiced every day. So I kind of thought about that and got, oh man, you got to do that stuff every day? Really? Huh. So that's what I did. I just did my work every day. And you know what happened after I did my homework every day? You know what kind of student I became? An A student, straight A's. Crazy. How did I become a straight A student? Because of that. So you practice it every day. So that's the one thing I've learned in my life, that if you ever want to get good at anything, you do it over and over again. So even though you guys have this sheet, there's going to be people that look at this and they go, that means I don't have to learn the language because Mr. Judge, he's going to give me that, summary sheet. It has the language for me. And they never bother learning the language. And then you know what happens? It blows their mind. They mess up on the language and they don't realize, I never practiced using that language. And they draw wrong conclusions about themselves. They think, I can't do that because, boy, I had a summary sheet of the language and I still didn't do it. It's because you never thought of it yourself. You never went through it. There's a process in your brain that when you do something over and over again, it fires up those neurons the same way every single time. And then that's how you remember. And on a test, you need that there. It's kind of like muscle memory for the brain. That's exactly what that is. So this is the kind of stuff that you guys do. Even though you have the summary sheet, you don't ever want to look at it and go, I don't have to do the work, really. It's like, no, you do. You got to get it in your what? In your brain. You got to get that muscle memory. Anybody here good at anything? Don't break my heart. Please tell me you're good at something, because that's sad when I hear somebody say, Mr. Judge, I'm not good at anything. It's like, nothing? Really? There's nothing you're good at? Anybody? What are you good at? Yeah. Cleaning. Oh, good for you. That's amazing. Thank you. That's a good one. Do you practice cleaning?
No, I just like to clean.
You just like to clean. Yeah. You like to clean, but you don't practice.
Well, I clean every day, but I like to do it.
You do it every day. You know what happens after a while when you do? You know what? I used to hate math. And it's kind of worse than that. I used to hate everybody who could do math. It's like, I hate that person. You know what I mean? I hate them. They could do algebra and I can't. I hate them. And then when I started to do it, because I did my homework every day, you know what happened? I started to love it. Started to love algebra. So I'm thinking, maybe you like it so much because you're good at it. You enjoy it. There's kind of a it's a symbiotic kind of relationship there. So you start to become more successful, then you enjoy it. Isn't that interesting? I'm telling you, that's the way it works. You'll even enjoy that. Hey, I didn't even know that was there. Oh, there's a ruler? Yeah, use that in geometry and trig. Oh, look at that. Huh, can I make it bigger? How do I get rid of it? Goodbye, ruler. Oh, I don't know what I did, but whatever. How about the next phrase? X is what? At least what? 2. So we're going to put X and 2. What inequality is that? Greater than or what? Equal to. X is greater than or equal to 2. So where is 2? Well, I don't know. It's kind of somewhere over here. Okay. Remember, it's greater than. How do we handle the greater than numbers? Larger numbers live where? To the right. Greater than. Larger numbers live to the right. Do we equal to? Because it's at least? Yes. What does that mean? Square what? Bracket. What do you guys think? Is that easier than the first one? That's the idea. What about the next one? What does that say? X is what? X is less than 3? Okay. X and 3. Okay, what's the phrase there? Less than. What does less than mean? Strictly smaller than. Is that right? That's the less than sign. X is smaller than 3. All right. 3 is where? I don't know. Maybe over here? Okay. Less than, smaller than. What do we remember? Smaller numbers live where? To the left. Why did I put the parentheses? Because when you're saying less than, that means you don't include the number. It's strictly smaller than. Is that an important detail to know? The answer is yes. It's important to know that, right? What does it mean to be a minor again? You're less than 18, under 18. It's a minor. All right. Number 8. What does this mean? Number 8. X is what? X is more than 2. You know, the more than is very similar to the less than, right? In what way is more than similar? Well, more than does not include 2. Like less than does not include the number. More than doesn't include the number. Less than doesn't include the number. But what is more than? It has to be what again? Greater than. Good. Greater than. Larger than. Got to be more than that number. Okay, where's 2? I don't know. It's positive to the right somewhere. Which numbers are more? Numbers that live where? To the right of it. But if we don't include it, put the what? Parentheses. All right, you guys okay with that? Number 9. X is, what's this phrase? No more than 2. What does that mean to be no more than 2? Less than or equal to. Remember this, it's kind of like the limit, but it's a limit that can equal the number. So you think of it, X could be no more than 2. It is 2 or less. 2 or less than or equal to 2. Oh, okay. So if 2 is over here, like before, what numbers are less than 2? Numbers that live where? To the left of it. Good. But since you include the 2, what do you guys need? Square bracket. All right. You guys okay with this one? What do you guys think? Is that okay? All right. How about this one? What does it say? X is, this is the between again. X is what? Between what? 1 and what? 5. 1, X, 5. So isn't X between 1 and 5? Do you guys see that there? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Isn't that happening? All right, what are the inequality signs we use by default? Less than or equal. Less than or equal. All right, so this is the inequality for this phrase. This is the inequality symbol. X is between 1 and 5. And remember, it is inclusive. What does inclusive mean? Include the what? Number. Include the 1 and 5. So 1, we know, is to the right of 0, and 5 is really to the right. Is that right? So the between part, how do we describe the between? We shade everything that's between here. Do we use brackets? Yes. What do you guys think? Is that pretty good? Anybody have any questions on these here? Nope. You guys okay with that? Yes. Which one? Oh, you mean the shading part for between? Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing. When you look at the instructions, right, it says describe the meaning of the phrases. That part is what you're doing right here, right? And then they say after you describe the meaning of the phrases, they want you to do what? To graph what that means. So there's two parts. Describe the phrase with an inequality, and that's what we did. And then over here, this is known as the graph. So on the right side, everything that we're doing with the shading is the graph. Okay? And we're going to use that in really in this course eventually, you know. And that's what you're doing. You have the graph portion as well. So this is the inequality, and then this portion over here is the what? The graph. And so that's what you guys really always want to do. It's kind of, you go with the instructions. I know, like, it's hard because a lot of times we don't read instructions, you know. It's a bad habit. I know I have that habit. But in the instructions, they want us to describe the phrase with an inequality and then graph. This is really under the category of, what's called simple inequalities in beginning algebra. And you graph simple inequalities. That's opposed to complex inequalities or compound. I apologize. Compound inequalities. You guys remember that stuff? Anybody remember what I'm talking about? Back in the day? Algebra. All right, what about this one? Should we have you guys do, give you guys a few seconds to try 11 through 14? Just give you guys some time here. You guys some time. Let's have you guys try these on your own. And of course, we'll go over them. We're ready. What do you guys think? Okay, let's try this out. What do you guys get here now? What is this here? Let's see if we can do. What is x at least 3? X 3. What is the at least? Greater than or equal. You guys okay with that? At least 3. Okay. So where's 3 at? It's over here. It's positive, right? Somewhere to the right of 0. At least 3. What does that mean? Greater than? Where do larger numbers live? To the right. There you go. Do you include the 3? Okay. Put the what? Square bracket. There you go. Okay. So you have the inequality and you have the graph. X is no more than 3. Okay. X 3 no more than 3. What is no more than 3 again? It's 3 or less, right? Remember this phrase is no more. What does no more mean? It means it can't be what? Bigger. Yes. It can't be bigger than what? 3. It can't be more. That word no. Okay? No more than 3. This is another way of saying less than or equal to 3. It can equal 3. It can be 3. Just can't be more. All right. So there we go. All right. So how do we describe all this stuff, right? Do you guys know? Less than or equal to 3. We include the 3, don't we? All righty. How about the phrase x is less than 4? Less than. Notice how you read it left to right. X is on the left, and then you got the less than sign, and then you got the number 4. Less than 4. Okay. Where do smaller numbers live again? To the left. Is that right? Shade everything to the left. And then, what's the deal? Put a what? Parentheses. Why put the parentheses? It has to be what? Less than. All right, you guys okay with that? Let me get something going here. Okay. All right, what about number 14? X is more than 3. X is what? More than 3. So, let's write it down. X greater than 3. Is that right? Notice how I read it left to right. Okay, so 3 is maybe over here. Numbers that are greater than, where do they live? To the right. Notice the inequality is also pointing to the right. Okay, do we use a parentheses or a bracket? There you go. What do you think? Are those neurons firing up the same way? Should we have you guys try these on your own? Could you see that? Should we try 15? Let's do 15, right? What does that say? X is what again? Between 2 and 5. Okay, so it's between these two numbers. 2, 5. All right. 2 is to the right. Notice 5 is further to the right because it's larger. And then what do we shade? We shade everything that's what again? Between, is that right? Is that between? Oh, we forgot to write them down. Here's 2. Forgot to write it down. Here's 2, here's x, and here's 5. Okay, remember we put these inequalities here. Square brackets. This is the graphing here. Okay. Should we have you guys try these last again? See how it goes? We'll give you guys some time. Let's get this out. Okay. What do you guys think? Should we try this out here? All right. X is at least 4. What do we write down? Let's ask you guys this question. Okay. What do I write down? Let me get to where I need. Okay. X is at least 4. What do we do? There's X. What do we do? You guys have to tell me after all this time. What do you think? Greater than or what? Equal to what? Good. Okay. You guys okay with that? All right. Now 4 is positive to the right over here somewhere. Yes. We shade. What numbers are bigger? Larger numbers live where? To the right. Okay. Put a what? Bracket. Is that right? You guys okay with that? All right, nice. What about this? What do I write down? Right, X is what? Less than 5. Okay, 5 is somewhere over here. Is that right? So which numbers are less? Numbers that are what? To the left. Do you put a bracket or you put a parentheses? What do you guys think? X is more than, how do we describe more than? Greater than. X is greater than 4. Okay. So we have to shade numbers that are larger. Those numbers are, right? This is what again? More than, which numbers are more? Numbers that live to the right. There you go. Put your what again? Parentheses, ladies and gentlemen. What do you guys think? Is that amazing? Oh, the no more than. Remember this phrase here. We got to be careful here, right? X is not more than. Oh, not more than 4 is what? Less than or equal to 4. So far, so good? Okay, so 4 is again somewhere over here. We can kind of sketch it anywhere. So less than or equal. Smaller numbers live where? To the left. Do you put the bracket? Yeah. All right, we're now at the between language, right? X is now between. Okay. X is between what two numbers? 2 and 4. Okay, so here's 2, here's 4. My X is between, remember, less than or equal? Less than or equal. Isn't that the between? All right, now where's 2 and 4 here? Over here? 2, what? 4. X is between. So put this what? Between. Why did I put the square brackets? Equal. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Language. All right. Wow. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Some language.